And we have a visitor for 5A and for 6A.
I did it again.
Someplace, it's 8 o'clock, yes.
Where do you want to be?
This is my sixth one today.
Hawaii.
Hawaii, okay, let's go. It's noon, let's call the meeting to order, please. Call roll.
Hawaii. Larson.
Here.
Blair. Here. Brindy.
Here.
Heck.
Here.
Corkin.
Here.
Helms.
Here.
Okay, you got a quorum.
All right, approval of the minutes for July 20th regular meeting.
I'll move.
Second.
Discussion. Call roll, please.
No, that's a
That's
voice.
voice.
That's where you got a V.
I am.
Okay.
Bills and communication, approval.
Well, you need to
Vote.
get the vote.
That's what I asked for.
You asked for your roll call.
Yay or nay?
Yea or
All in
nay?
favor? Yay.
Aye.
Aye. Approval of accounts payable, August 17th. Look.
Everything except the attorney, is that correct?
It's too light.
Move approval.
Second.
And this, we don't need a vote, do we?
Yes, you do, it's
I
money.
thought this was council.
We need to do a roll call vote for this because it's money, but the second one here, where it's the review, we don't have to take a vote.
Okay.
Okay?
Larson.
Yes.
Blair. Yes. Brindy.
Yes.
Heck.
Yes.
Corkin.
Yes.
Helms.
Yes.
Review of accounts payable, August 3rd. Questions or comments? No? All right, delinquencies.
We have no delinquencies.
Financial reports.
Okay, so July financial reports were emailed to you, the activity for each account. Nothing was out of the ordinary unless there was questions about anything. Like Paul had said, we didn't have any delinquents, so we were collecting payments that we're supposed to. We have new ones that'll start now that were suspended. They will start again September 1st. So some of them haven't really had much activity because of that suspension. And then we also included the cash for each of those counts, which is in your packet. And as you can see, they're all to the positive. I don't know if anybody has any questions on those accounts. Keep in mind, the 280 fund, it does have a balance of 103. That is where we pay for the tax abatements, which I think is about 77,000, I think, this year.
Something like that.
That's where the house sales go, and that's been good, and there's activity going on there. Otherwise, any other questions?
I have a question, probably more for Paul. Have we heard from any of the businesses that they have a concern with the restart? They're not,
No, we have not.
okay, good.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Carla? Thank you, Carla.
And if I may, Mr. President, Diane, remember that they are direct withdrawals that are coming
Correct.
up too,
Yeah.
okay?
Great.
It's been booming downtown,
Oh, yes.
big time.
There will be, if I may just intrude for just a moment, there will be a special section in the Herald coming up, and both the mayor and I were asked to write articles to be included in that special section and to talk about it coming through COVID and what's going on. And one of the things that was remarkable is how upbeat the business community, the people we talk to, have been and how positive they are about the future. And we can see it with some of the businesses that are opening up or that are renovating a building so they can open up as well. So that's, and the article that the things that we wrote mentioned things like that.
The only concern I've heard from is supplies, getting things.
Yes.
There's
Supply
still
chain.
a real big lag on that.
Supply chain and manpower, workforce. Those are the two biggest issues. So if we can get products shipped to us, maybe people can ship a couple extra people along and we'll grow the population that people were concerned it wasn't growing fast enough, and we'll just keep them here and keep them employed because we have the jobs for them.
Unfortunately, I think every community has those same two issues.
Exactly.
Apparently, on the numbers that are public numbers, there are more job openings in Grand Forks County than there are people who are unemployed. Now, not everything's a match, but there are more jobs available than there are people to fill them right now. And we're starting to see some pressure on wages and starting to see some hiring bonuses and things like that so that businesses can bring employees on. But even if the hiring bonuses, it doesn't necessarily fill nor keep employees. Businesses are paying their bonus over time, and they get so much if they've been there so many months. And employees are still walking and going on to other jobs, other opportunities where they can do better.
And also, if they don't like something that happened at their current employment, they know they can walk out the door and walk down 2 doors and probably pick up another job.
And
So,
that's minute by minute.
yeah.
Yes, and they're staying at home and are giving up a second job because what they learned in the last 18 months is that the quality of life at home sometimes is more important than the extra dollars. So there's a lot of dynamics that are going on right now.
I
A lot of
disagree
people
with
who've
that. They
retired.
want both.
Well, they want both, but they just as soon stay home
And get paid.
And get paid.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't we all?
I don't see a problem with it.
Productivity, that's the only issue.
That's minor.
But those are the kinds of things that are going on right now, and those are issues not just here, but we see it in particular here with some of the things, situations that we have.
I just came back from Iowa, and even every little town you went through, you had didn't
Help
matter
wanted.
what size size town was, they were looking for workers. They wanted somebody.
Help wanted.
Help wanted, help wanted.
And help
Yep.
wanted, yep.
It's something.
What makes you want to just go and help the person? Like, if you sit down for a meal and there's not enough people, I want to just start helping. I can't have another job.
All right. Let's see, financial directors reports.
It was a fairly normal month. If you have any questions, just let me know.
Questions for Paul on that?
You know, the hard part about that is there's so much nuance behind it. And you just say the words, but there's still a lot more information behind it. And I don't know what all to say without giving you I could give you a 20-page report, but I don't think that would be fun. I'd rather do what I do and try to keep it as close to 1 page as possible.
Please don't give us a 20-page report.
How often have I ever given you more than a page and a half on anything?
Brian loves them reports.
Love it.
So make a 20-pager for Brian, and then a crib sheet for me and Josh.
Early in my career, I was taught that all of our memos to the boards and elected officials should never be more than a page and a half.
Too much.
And the first half page was the memo to, from, and the organization. So you have half a page of writing and a half a page of writing. If you can't get it done in there, you better think about how you're saying it, because
Yep.
time is at such a premium How do you get the time to read everything?
Oh. All right, unfinished business.
Unless you're a lawyer.
Unfinished business, 2050 land use plan map review and discussion.
Okay, in your packet is information regarding the plan. You had asked about the map.
I can see this one better.
And I say, are these the same maps?
Yes.
Yes, they are.
Sure looked like it.
Brian, we can share the big one too.
Terry also directly sent you some items yesterday
Here's a little one.
regarding the plan. Okay, so you should have received those in the mail. And I also sent to you the comments, some comments that should have looked something like this. So, your thoughts. I'm going to leave this open-ended. We had had some concerns about the amount of land that was going to be here for commercial land because of how much it translates to and how many square feet it translates to, because it would be over 1 million square feet of industrial, commercial space in the next 30 years, and we were skeptical that we could absorb that much, and so we needed to look at the map on that, and maybe we should let Terry talk a little bit, but as well. But I was thinking we could at least give Terry some information about what our thoughts were on the commercial acreage. I'm hoping we'll give Terry some thoughts of what we think on the commercial
That just seemed
language.
like a really large amount, I think, when we looked at it last month. That was,
Yeah.
and is that realistic? You know, and it's probably not.
We were talking about acres, right?
We're talking about acres.
You know, and we heard the number of acres, and then you mentioned a commercial business typically has,
Roughly 10,000 square feet per acre is the yield for commercial
I
property.
think we were backing into some numbers kind of live, and we're like, whoa. how
Yeah,
are we ever gonna
it
take
comes
that
out
much,
to
right?
over 1 million square feet
A million
of
square
commercial
feet of
space in over
commercial.
30 years.
And
So,
30 years is the operative word, because that is a long time from now. I mean, think back to 30 years ago, that was back in 1991, so,
30 years is 1.5 times the size of the mall in Grand Forks. And there was skepticism that even over 30 years that we could absorb 1.5 malls in East Grand Forks. It might be desired, but the question, a lot of the commercial will go on the side of the river that has a higher population. And in addition, a couple other factors, if we're going to do that much commercial, it's going to be a lot of non-local ownership, most likely. And what we have had here, and one of the trademarks of what we see in East Grand Forks is locally owned and locally operated. And that would be a change from what we've seen. So the question to the EDA, to give advice to Terry for the land use plan, is that realistic? And if it's not, on the map, where is land that may or may not be appropriate for commercial, so that we can help guide her in her efforts in dealing with the land use plan and the land use plan update.
Well, let's back into it this way. How many people per that? Then we can go by our population growth too.
I had the same thought is, you know, do we
Less than 1% per year.
less than 1%?
And how many does it take per an acre for employment?
for employment, we have commercial jobs in 2050 being 856.
Compared to what now? Because that would be the total amount, that's not new jobs, that would be total, right?
That would be the total amount, yes. Trying to see if we had any, did not know. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, what was previously allotted, but
1% per year in
Yeah.
population growth equates to 2.5 persons per household
Maybe do that by 30 years.
Well, yeah, but you're talking about per year, so you're talking about, I will do the math the right way. Okay?
There is the idea also that we're seeing a trend in where the population is coming from to fill those jobs, which is not necessarily within inside East Grand Forks.
That's right.
So,
You're seeing all over northwest Minnesota, you're seeing Grand Forks, and you're seeing the hinterlands around there. At 90 people per year, it equates to about 36 housing starts per year. Okay? If you assume 2.5 persons per household.
I think commercial's a tough one. I mean, I think we all know that a lot of the traditional commercial has gone online. Amazon or whatever has gobbled up a lot of that. But there's still going to be some base commercial that we need for our community here. Seems to me like the risk we have is like, are we setting aside too much property for commercial? And then what else would we recommend in place of it? Do we make a harder push for industrial or Parkland or whatever it is if we don't have confidence that all this red is too much red?
As a rule of thumb, a grocery store needs 4,000 to 8,000 housing units, households, for each grocery store. We have 9,000 people, which would mean that we have somewhere close to 4,000 households. About right, Terry? Mm-hmm. Okay. So we'd have to basically double the size and population before you'd see another Hugo's type grocery store.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to see that. Right? It's not going to double. I can't do the math in my head, but wherever your 1% per year times 30 years ends up, I don't think we haven't doubled the size of East Grand Forks, have we?
No.
No,
What we have, go on.
we've increased it just between the 2010 and 2020 census by about over 400.
I saw that. That was nice to see.
See, at 9,000, if you do 1% per year, that's 90 residents.
Right.
90 new residents. You're talking, it's compounded over 30 years, but even we do simple, that's 90 residents times 30 years is 0, and with a 2,700?
Yep.
Okay.
Which on our current trend, we would be at 1,200
Yeah.
if we would increase 400 in the last 10 years. So not even half
So
of
it goes back
what's
to our
projected.
original thoughts, we're about half that.
Yeah. It seems like a lot of commercial space based on our population growth.
And we do, when we're looking at land use, we want to be able to provide enough flexibility so that those who are looking for land can get the specific location they're looking for. We do try to locate those zonings in an area that is highly trafficked. But we're also looking at where the overall population is growing too, which will be that where those workers are going to be working and what are the trends overall. So yes, we know trends are a lot more people are going to be working from home, but we're also trying to kind of predict what that retail change is going to look like and how can it affect East Grand Forks.
The regional market capture study showed almost a perfect gravity model, but splitting the distance between us and Thief River Falls and Crookston for where the trade area is. And that seems likely to continue. The Grand Forks trade area doesn't go out quite as far on our side. It goes out much further in North Dakota and much further north and south than what we see. But simply for East Grand Forks, it was almost a perfect gravity model. If you know what I'm talking about with a gravity model, gravity attracts, and the stronger pull is what it is. So it's like gravity; it pulls people in certain directions depending upon where you're located.
And where the activity is.
Mm-hmm.
So the commercial industrial, the hybrid option, is that should we lean a little heavier on that to give us more flexibility over the 30 years if we don't have a lot of confidence in the pure commercial
Sector.
And that is also included in that overall commercial looking. I mean, we have a big list that I provided you of what we're looking at when we say commercial. We're not just looking at, okay, the grocery store, the local apparel store, the Cabela's, you're also looking at those businesses that are going to be indoors. How are we providing for the clinics and the computer business spaces and things like that, people who are working in a office and not necessarily in one of those more traditional retail spaces. So.
I like the comment that Brian said, though. I think looking at the industrial opportunities, because being an ag community, I think to bring sizable businesses to town, that's where our opportunities are going to lie. Ones that aren't just going to employ 10 to 15 people, it's going to be 40, 50 people of something in the agricultural sector that's going to be fairly sizable. And there's been stuff that's been talked about in the past, and Crookston got one not too long ago, and that's all going to have to be industrial and in key areas. I think those are more opportunities for us than typical retail, or maybe we'd have a clinic that wants to build a bigger location or something too. But our community's centered around agriculture here, and I think our biggest opportunities will come from that.
There's technology-based agriculture.
I was just going to say, because when you think about the ag, yes, I agree with you with that part of it, but what could come here that would need that much space for ag? Nothing but technology, which would branch off to other things.
Which would also be located more likely in commercial as
Areas.
opposed to completely industrial.
Yeah.
Well, you look at, just look at the site that Hefty Seed is putting up on the corner of Highway 2 out there. And that plot's got to be, 20 acres?
But they were looking at 20 acres.
So those are the types of businesses that I'm kind of alluding to as well. I do think there's a lot of other opportunity, like you said, in different technology stuff too, that can be a part of the ag community as well and help them with things. But, and in my mind, I'm just thinking about like the seed type businesses and that type of thing that we have going on right now.
You could take the fertilizer plant that's been discussed on the other side of the river for a long time. A lot of those major supply chain investments for big ag, which is, where we are. If we were well positioned on our side of the river to entice some of that development over here, I think that could be a major win for us.
There's the drones and things like that. That is being highly used in agriculture for precision ag. And that's where a lot of that technology is coming into effect, and it's becoming larger and larger. I know RDO has their whole other side, that whole section for drones and precision ag, so.
When I think about that market though, are we going to compete with the current drone location?
Like at Northrop or whatever.
Yeah.
Grand Sky.
Not necessarily that you're competing with Grand Sky, but it's that you're closer to where those techs need to be able to contact your local farmers. It's not the big drones. It's those
Right.
little
Yep.
ones
Yep.
that people your general population can, or most of your general population.
And I only say
can-
that because I feel that like if Grand Sky hears of any type of a drone business, no matter if it's a big drone or small drone coming to town, they're going to be all over it, because they're going to want people that kind of have the same technology in the same sectors. They're going to want them. They're going to go look at these companies that we already have out here and the technology available and the potential to piggyback off them or work with them on things or get information from them. When you're right there with them, that's obviously a lot easier. I know you wouldn't be very far away, even if you were on the east side of East Grand Forks. It's still kind of all in the hub of our town right here, but I can see Grand Sky, why would they not go after a business like that and saying, hey, look at the infrastructure we have out here for this already. Why don't you set it up here?
It isn't, I'm sorry,
Yep, go ahead.
it isn't Grand Sky zone industrial and classified as industrial by what they're doing? Not commercial?
Yes.
Probably. But wouldn't, if we had a drone type business, wouldn't we have to have that in industrial, not commercial?
And that's what we were just talking about. So maybe that's an argument that some of the land that is shown as, or counted as commercial, should perhaps be counted as industrial rather than be counted as commercial.
Yeah, that's where I'm going with this too. That's what I'm thinking,
I think we're
is
all
that
on
it should
the
be,
same page.
we should be more industrial.
So, for example, if you look upon the north side of Highway 2, where the checkerboards are, maybe that should be counted as industrial as opposed to commercial space, if it's counted as commercial, Terry.
North of Highway 2, which section of it?
There's the purple, and then there's the red polka dots, or the red,
This stuff.
But that's commercial industrial, is
Yep.
it not?
yeah, but
Yeah.
it was, if I heard correctly, a lot of that was being counted as commercial as opposed to industrial, and for the number purposes, maybe it should be counted as industrial.
There's a percentage being accounted for in the commercial that's being stated as in our numbers as commercial. And in the industrial as well, in the total numbers.
And how deep are those properties off of Highway 2?
Probably a quarter mile.
So, do we really think that we're going to see 1,300 feet of depth of commercial property along Highway 2?
Don't know.
I would suggest that you look, depth for a lot of the strip mall type activities is in the 200 to 300 foot range. And beyond that, it's not likely to be retail or commercial properties. It will likely be some type of industrial. So maybe we need to look at what the frontage would be along Highway 2 versus what it is behind there, as opposed to just having it mixed. And I would suggest that the frontage along Highway 2 may be a mixture, but back behind a reasonable depth for some type of strip commercial or small shopping centers, that it would probably be something other than commercial development.
So you would like to see, instead of these mixed uses, it be more of a traditional zoning of
No, what I'm
commercial,
saying
or-
is that part of it will be mixed, but I don't think the depth lends itself to 1,300 feet of possible commercial property. And I think we need to be realistic in what we're presenting here.
Yes, I understand that. But when you state that, the way I see it on this map is
what
that
it is.
we're cutting off a certain portion for exclusive commercial and the rest of it exclusive industrial.
No, what I'm saying is the back part of it might be industrial, or it could be residential. There are a couple of different options, but the front part would probably be a mixture of commercial and industrial.
Isn't that what the map says?
That's exactly what it says.
Yes.
That's what I
But it's
thought.
the depth that's the issue, Ron. And Diane, it's the depth that's the issue. It's too deep for that type of development. It's too deep for a commercial development.
And, you know, once we're looking at setbacks and things like that, what was this?
So I understand, Paul, you're saying like just north of Highway 2, you'd have a strip of commercial industrial?
Yes.
And then a little bit further north, it'd be just purple, just
Probably.
industrial? Okay, I mean, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it reduces the amount of land to a realistic amount that's really going to be developed. 1,300 feet is a quarter mile is a deep, very deep commercial parcel.
What should
We're
our
not seeing that here.
What should our concern be here? If we have something zoned commercial/industrial, and then it ends up being all industrial, what's the problem?
I don't think there's any problem with that, but I think we need to represent this realistically on the map. A lot of people look at the map rather than the words of the plan, and the map has to properly reflect what our thoughts are. And if we have concerns, and you express those concerns at the last meeting, you plural, express those concerns at the last meeting, then the map should be adjusted to reflect those concerns.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
And according to, I mean, in what would be the combination, the mixed of commercial and industrial, your light industrial, you're looking at 20 feet of front property. And another 10 on the front, or on the sides, or on each side and the back. The same is pretty much true for your highway commercial. So that's kind of a lot of other land that needs to be
That's why when
included into this as well.
a 20-foot depth is a car length. That's all that it is. And that's like a front yard and a house. In fact, it's less
It's
than
a
front yard.
two-lane road, pretty much, is a,
Two-lane road, if you're back-to-back around here, is going to be about 32 feet. Because our
a
roads are
lane,
wide,
a lane is technically
12 to 16.
10 to 12, technically. A
Depending
lot of
where you
people
are,
like
they
to
go to
include
16.
the parking spaces, which is what's included in a lot of roads around
Which is
here.
why the yield is 10,000 square foot of building per acre. A parking space, each required parking space is approximately 300 square feet, when you include the maneuvering space and the parking space itself.
Depending upon the usage.
I can drive in Street 37 feet back to back. We're just-
Dan, you're breaking up, Ben.
A standard city street is anywhere from 31 to 37.
Yeah. With two lanes, that means you're dealing with 18 and a half foot lanes possibly, 15 and a half to 18 and a half foot lanes.
I don't think that's getting to what we're trying to talk about here,
I think
though.
that's off track. I agree with you.
Yeah, I guess, I think there's too much red, and that we should try to focus more on industrial would be, but I don't have a magic number to tell you what to bring it to, but that's what I think.
So,
Haven't changed my opinion from last time.
so what we're saying to the MPO, is that they should reduce the amount of red on the map.
I think so. I mean, we're showing all this on property we don't even own to begin with here, expanding the city boundary to build all this, that I don't have faith we're going to build 1 million square feet of commercial, much less buy all this private property. So I think we should be more realistic with it. And where we do show growth, let's try and focus on industrial growth. Or industrial/commercial.
Does everybody agree?
Yes.
Okay, Terry, that's the feeling
So,
of the
okay.
EDA.
You want to reduce the number of acres for all of it, for commercial and industrial.
Oh, I did not hear them say anything about reducing industrial acreage. I heard them say something about reducing commercial acreage.
Commercial acreage, yeah.
Increase the industrial?
You'll have to tell us, why we're saying we need to purchase all this land, and there must be a lot of.
It's not
This isn't for purchase.
No,
It is-
I know,
okay.
but you're showing that this is where the city's going to grow.
Yeah.
So in 30 years, we're saying that something is built here, and I don't think it's a field. So, there's got to be some data that's saying the city's going to grow and we need this much acreage. I'm not arguing with the data that says that. It's just how do we want to line up our map to show how we want to grow? And I
So we
think
want
that-
less red and more purple.
Yeah, that would be.
Or combined red and purple, you said. You
Yeah.
said commercial,
I like that.
industrial,
Yeah.
so
I like the
it'd be the
combined.
red and the purple with the line
Because
through it.
one thing that Terry said that I liked is that this gives us a lot of flexibility, and that the more we have red and purple gives us more flexibility, so we don't have to go back
And
restrict-
rezone.
And rezone.
The other part of this is also, you're stating that, yes, it is outside of city limits, and the city is not going to purchase this land. But we do have to work with the water districts. The city does have to work with water districts and the electric and all of that, so the water and light has to get involved at some point in time. And this gives us a point of starting to plan that out now and not have to rush through that process. And that's kind of the whole idea about a land use plan, is we're planning for that future so that we can prepare for it. The MPO is going to want to know, okay, you've got your land uses now. How is that going to connect up to the street networks? How are we going to work transportation into it? How are we going to look at transit and providing transit, walking, biking, and vehicles, as well as any kind. And with the industrial and commercial areas, we also have to think about how we're getting freight into those areas. So, yeah, this is the first step in that whole big thought process.
I should clarify, I think I misspoke, obviously. I didn't intend that the city would buy this property. It's some private developer may wish to build here. I think where we're unique is we're surrounded by very valuable ag land, which is a big part of our economy. You know, it's not just pasture or alkali plains or whatever. So, this area in particular, this is great land, and it's being used. So we got to, we have to consider that when we look at these potentially showing the boundaries of the city expanding.
I just wanted to also verify, you don't see any changing in the numbers that we have given out for how many jobs and things like that are going to be looked at? Or we're just concerned about the number of acres that's there?
The number of acres of commercial just to me doesn't align with our population growth or trends in traditional commercial would be what my gut tells me.
And more likely than not, there'll be less traditional commercial in the future, as there'll be a lot more order and pickup and things of that nature facilities.
Yeah, but we want to continue to be a job hub for our region and attract those people that live between here and Thief River and here in Crookston, come here and work.
Now, the other thing is, I sent you the comments. Did anybody have anything to add, or was I too harsh?
Terry's not in the corner crying, so. Did you have any questions on what they say?
I've never known Terry to be shy about coming and asking a question.
No, I'm not shy about asking the question. I guess I just, one of the reasons why I also sent out those definitions is because when we talk about these things, it tends to be in a very certain way. And so I wanted to give you guys a frame of reference for what we're looking at when we say transit-oriented development. I mean, people think, oh, that's a big city thing, but in reality, not so much. It's not going to be a huge, big bus station or whatever. It's going to be your bus shelters, your bus stops, and it's better to have those things in place beforehand than to try and put it in after. UND literally rebuilt the whole street because now, I mean, the street needed to be rebuilt, but they looked into that before they put in where they're going to put their bus stops, where they're going to do this and that, especially when you're starting to look at providing transportation to those jobs. Some people are going to use transit. It's just the way it is, So those are it's not this whole big city. It's also a very small town aspect. So I guess that's the only thing that kind of stood out for me, and is also giving you guys a frame of reference for what we're talking about when we say, commercial, mixed uses and things of that nature.
Scaling will be important.
Mm-hmm.
What's that, Paul?
Scaling.
Yeah,
Having
scaling.
a proper scale will be important.
Mm-hmm.
If someday, as a group, you'd be interested in talking further on things such as transit-oriented development and complete streets and the missing part of housing and things like that, one of my friends from past lives, I'm sure would be happy to spend about 10 or 15 minutes on Zoom to talk with you about it. And he owns a company called Opticos, and he has a national reputation as an expert in this area, and I'm sure he'd be very glad to talk with you about that.
Sure.
You just tell me if you want, and I will call Dan and ask him if you'd like to do it.
So
We'd
we
even
got you
invite
where
you.
the info you need?
Yep, unless you have any other comments or expansion on what Paul has given us.
Brian?
You know, my only other comment, and I guess I'm not really looking for a response, just it's a passion of mine, is, you know, I don't see a lot of additional parkland, public use type property identified in the plan. And I think that goes hand in hand with quality of life in our low-density residential areas, and, well, I should say all residential areas. So I think that's something that we should look at. I'm not saying carve out prime real estate for parks, but like, that's one of the great things about living in East Side is we have great parks, we have the Greenway. So let's keep that up.
And we do, that is part of the ordinances in a lot of places, and building, when they look at developing a whole area, especially, which is called the PUDs, and so they do look at putting in parks. So we don't want to dictate in those residential area spaces where parks are going to be located, because that's part of what the developing body is going to do. So that is an assumption that we make, that there will be X number of park land. Where was I?
There's a required parkland dedication.
Yeah, there's a
And-
required dedication in the ordinances for, you know,
This deal.
yeah, for all of this. And we actually do have public institutional, and that's part of the public parkland area.
So there is some parkland kind of built into the growth in the yellow areas then?
Yes, it'll be in the yellow areas that we're assuming it happens.
Okay.
I mean, in the
But it'll
south
be
end, you
at
can
the-
see.
It'll be incorporated as they develop it, and
Yes.
so it's not like, this is where the park's going to go.
Yeah,
There's
that's
either a
not something we
park or
want to
a
do.
Park dedication fee that the city charges with development.
Sure.
That's it.
One of the things that I haven't seen yet in the plan that I'm sure they're going to do is they will give you a number of acres per 10,000 residents, which would, or per 1,000 residents of parkland in the city. And they will probably do a comparison of what that acreage is to what different cities are that are comparably sized and located and things of that nature. That's a very common thing to include
we
in a
have,
plan. And I just said,
yeah, we
I
have
haven't looked at
parks.
it, and I,
Park acreage per 1,000 people, so we're assuming about 7 acres in the next, whenever, in that whole timeframe, so.
Great.
but what's existing parkland per 1,000 residents too?
Right
Because
now,
yes,
or?
because that's part of what the
Yeah.
whole equation is how much parkland, because a lot of our parkland is in the Greenway as well.
Yes.
Right.
And we have some areas, I mean, in the map, you can already see in certain areas, especially within the south end, there's green spots within those neighborhoods that are all parkland, so. I know I can walk several different directions from my house in the south end and reach a park.
Yeah, and that's what's great. And
Yes.
so that's what I'm trying to get across, is let's keep that up.
Absolutely, it's part of that, you know, livability that the MPO is supporting, and not just, you know, in all our transportation, is that access to, you know, work, play.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Update on USEDA and deed programs.
I included in your packets an update on the programs that are being offered. What I'm seeing is that the city and the EDA will not be eligible for a lot of these, or would not act as the lead agency. Some of them, many of them are workforce-related that are going to be done where I will be working with the Private Industry Council and other people. They're being done through the state partners, which are organizations spread statewide that will receive the funds and then work with businesses to provide financial resources to some of those businesses. But I will continue to monitor to see what we can take advantage of.
That was nice to get to understand.
What's
what we can actually qualify for and what we, yeah, it's out there, but it doesn't help.
Gets so confusing.
It does.
I will update these sheets and hand them out periodically.
Thank you. All right, new business, 2021 SBDC report, annual update. Christine Anderson.
Good afternoon, everybody. Do I have permission to share my screen now?
You're supposed to. We'll see if it happens.
Let's give it a try.
Bingo.
There we go. Just need to get to the right screen now. That's it. Oh, that's my calendar. You don't need to see my calendar.
You see a lot of open
I was
space
just
in
going
your
to say, you're not
calendar,
very
Christine.
busy.
Right. There we go. Okay. So this has been a really interesting past year and a half since I last saw everybody. So let's see. So just to give you guys kind of an overview again of what the SBDC does, is we are funded through the SBA, through the state of Minnesota, and our regional office in Bemidji, as well as our local partners, like yourselves. So we do deliver assistance to small businesses, whether it's financial, marketing, production, organization, research and development. We also do feasibility studies. Some of the other things that we do, we don't see a lot of it, is working with international trade. I do have one client that is in that world. We work with technical assistance, finding venture capital and rural development. One of the things we're really focusing on is to reach out to the minority members of socially, economically disadvantaged groups such as veterans, women, and disabled. And we do offer assistance to small businesses, whether they're in the startup phase or, at the end or through growth. And we also work with the SBI program. Through the past year, I've done a lot of helped a lot of businesses with all of the COVID funding and applying and following up, and that's been very interesting. I found the beginning of your guys' conversation today talking about employees really interesting. And I printed off a report that I recently got. It was last week. I'll just read you a real short synopsis of it. Microsoft's Work Trend Index reported that over 40% of the global workforce is considering leaving their employer this year. So what they're finding is businesses are needing to pivot and change the way they do business, because employees want to know that they matter, that they're making an impact. They don't just want to go in and put in their 8 hours a day anymore. They want to be more engaged in the business itself. And so that, in order to not only keep, but to recruit new employees, businesses are needing to look at that a little bit more. So, which leads really good into one of my goals this year. One of the things that I'm working on is, I had a lot of clients over the past year in asking them, what do you really need for help? Because some people are, well, I just need a warm body to do the job. But most of them want somebody who has the training so that they don't have to spend time training them. So I'm currently working with UMS and I've talked to Northland to create an internship or externship program that works with our SBDC clients as well as other small businesses. So an example would be UMC has a turf management program. I have a client who is a landscaper, and he needs somebody who knows what they're doing. And so this person would come in and provide technical assistance to him as an internship. Would not be just a warm body to do mowing or what have you, but would actually help. A lot of the university programs for the internships, they target their recruiting efforts or to get the students internships on the larger businesses like, say, Crystal Sugar, DigiKey, Mayo Clinic, things like that, where they have HR departments. A lot of our small businesses, the ones I work with, don't have that. And so they're very eager to have this connection. We're going to start, we're working at putting the program together with the main unit down in Minneapolis. It will be at all of the campuses. We'll have a piece of it right now, as will all the regions for the SBDC in the state of Minnesota. And each region will have probably, we're thinking 5 to 6 or 7 businesses. And depending on what those businesses are, we might reach into turf management. We might reach into healthcare. We have maybe a dentist's office who needs somebody who's specially trained, but not ready for graduation, because these people need internships. They're having a hard time, the students are having a hard time finding the internships, and our small businesses are having a hard time finding people who specialize and who are already trained for the most part. So I think it's going to be really exciting. I'm super excited to start this program. Like I said, the pilot will be this year, and hopefully by next year we'll have all the kinks worked out and it'll be full-time. I have accounting clients, or clients who need accounting assistance that I've talked to Northland, their accounting program people, about to also make those connections. The other thing that's really exciting for the SBDC this year is this spring, the SBA finally approved the ability for the SBDCs to market our services. Until this year, we were not able to do that. Our referrals came from groups like you guys, word of mouth, lenders, and I just feel like with more visibility, that will only help us. And I have 2 really short, and they're less than a minute, and hopefully this works, sample videos of what Minnesota's doing. So let's see if this works.
Once traders for the neighborhood business, the innovator is ready for something new ground up. And the fewer is necessary to do more. Contact your nearest small business development center today by going to mnsbdc.com. There, you'll find the SBDC or neighborhood staff members on hand to help small business owners develop a business plan, do marketing, research, set their accounting, gain access to capital, and growth. So go to sbdc.com. Start.
Okay, and next one.
Want it?
Oh,
Traders with an idea
sorry about that.
business. Innovators ready to throw something new from the ground up.
There we go. This one is Phil Knudsen. He's out of our regional SBDC office in Bemidji.
Run a small business in Minnesota. Are you trying to expand your operations? Or need help adjusting to changes brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic? Then contact your local small business development center.
Well, you know, the SBDC is here to help you be the best market for you. Whether it's setting up a business or trying to overcome challenges.
These are hard times. But if you need help with your business, small business development centers have new professionals standing by, ready to help you develop your business plan, do marketing and research, set up your accounting, gain access to capital, and much more. And they do it all for free. So reach out to your regional small business development center by email nwsbdc@nwmf.org or by calling 218-755-4255.
So that's our latest video. An update I did just because of the pandemic last year. I did a 2020 and a 2021 report for you guys. In 2020, we served 9 clients. That each client has to have over 9 hours. Or 5 hours, sorry. And we do have some that fall under that, but they don't show up in the report. We created just over $1 million in revenue. In 2021, so far, we have 9 clients, and we've created just over 37,000. A lot of that is COVID funds through the PPP of the EIDL program. Because last year, a lot of people didn't take out loans, obviously. Not listed in our report, but I try to keep a running copy is our regular inquiries that they don't become clients. So I had 17 in the past year. And we also have some who will sign up for assistance, but we never see or hear from them after they register. So those also don't get reached. And just that'd be interesting for Northwest Minnesota region. Our total amount of funding approved in 2020 was $7.4 million. We serviced for disaster-related counseling. We serviced 204. We supported 908 full-time jobs and 640 part-time jobs. So we were very busy. I want to share this testimonial from one of my clients. And so he started with the SBPC about 13 years ago. And he got a little bit of help, and then everything kind of faded off. I'm sure he got busy. And then I started working with him in 2019. And at that time, he has 2 businesses built into one, and he was looking at selling off one. And then COVID hit. And he didn't end up selling the other piece of it. And we talked, and we still talk every week, sometimes twice a week. I do it with all my clients, depending on their need, of course. Sometimes they're like, you know what, just give me a month off, and I'll call you later. But, you know, we kept in touch, right? And I kept him focused, and we were planning for the future of what it was going to be like and how he was going to run his business. Because when the pandemic first hit, we thought, well, by July we'll be done. Well, by October we'll be done, you know. And it was so hard for our small business owners, and I'm sure you guys have heard it too, to stay on track. I put in here that he said it'd be easier just to crawl into a shell. I think it was actually a bottle of bourbon he was wanting to crawl into it at one point. You know, just waiting. And now we're working on, you know, how to get back on track and what does he need to do. He's created a website. He has an online store now, and you know, those were things he was able to work on while he was shut down. And you know, creating inventory, putting all his inventory on his website. So that was great. I do have some trainings coming up. I have one coming up this Saturday. Yes, I tried a Saturday workshop. I don't have any registered yet. So, obviously, Saturdays don't work probably in the summer. You know, I'll do it anyways. And I don't know what the rest of the year is going to bring, but I do have, you can see the trainings I do have planned. Whether they're on Zoom, if the pandemic starts up again and we need to do virtual again, I will. Otherwise, September will be succession planning, and then I'm looking to do starting your business in Minnesota, Grand Forks, next month. Cash flow, marketing, some of the trainings for next year that I've had requests for is how to start a retail business, how to start a home business while you're working full time, building and managing a team. This one was really interesting. I got was home businesses for seniors to start. I had a few requests for that, so we're going to dive into that one. And then branding your business. I'm going to click on this, but it just takes you to a website, and then I'll bring you back. So last year, the University of Minnesota hired 2 directors for the Bedeen Center. Bedeen Center is some funding that UMC got a number of years ago. And so is the Center for Rural Economic Development. I'll just take you here for a second. So the purpose of it is as a catalyst and to convene and co-create a vibrant rural future. We have all of these little programs. I you to take a look at those because I think they are. It's going to be really. It's going places. We're in the process of growing that department, and Teresa Spade is our director, and Mitch Berg, he was the city administrator in Monoman, is our associate director now. Currently, the SBDC, we have our partners right now are, and they're the same, is the SBA, the Department of Employment and Economic Development, Northwest Minnesota Foundation, University of Minnesota Crookston, East Grand Forks Economic Development Authority. And I believe Crookston Housing and Economic Development Authority is going to be our partner for the next year. Don't know that yet because we're going through some changes. We do request, I respectfully request your continued support in this and going into the next year. We request again another $10,000 to support our mission. But any contribution would be welcome and greatly appreciated. My contact information, you guys, Paul's going to send you a copy of this, so you'll have my contact information. Please feel free to reach out to me anytime, or send people my way. Hopefully I can start getting over there more often. I'm able to travel now, so I think that changed. And it's just our partners again. So, any questions for me, guys?
I have a question. What is the cost for your clients or the businesses if they want to get in?
Absolutely zero.
Okay.
There is no cost, and I missed that part, sorry. And once they sign up for assistance, they're our client forever. So if I help somebody start a business this week and in 20 years they have a question and they say, hey, I want to retire now, how do I do it? They just log back in and they're started all over again.
And now the other question is the dates for the upcoming events. Can they find, if you can find that on your website or like in September?
The September one is on the 21st. The Northwest Minnesota Foundation has it on their website.
Any other questions? Thank you, Christine.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Anything else? Did that go back to you guys now?
Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
thanks.
Should go without him.
I was going to just update the group here that on the American Rescue Plan dollars, that the city have made some investments already. They are working on lead remediation. They should be done soon. It's on the same project on Central Avenue. Central Avenue should be done September 3rd is what we've been told. Just so you know, we did approximately 10 homes. I think it was 9. 9 lines we know that were lead on that project. There was another one around this corner that they're working on, and that we will be looking for more of those. Water and Light will be working on them when they're changing out meters and such, and if they know areas that we're going to somehow come up with a plan to try find them. I know there's more that came out with American Rescue Plan dollars, and they were saying how there's just not even enough money for the whole nation to do that, so we're pretty fortunate if we can get most of all of the city covered. So those will be coming out of the American Rescue Plan dollars for the city. It's about $5,300 a house right now. So we have that committed to pay out of those funds.
Good. Okay, Ad hoc Industrial Park Committee. Looks to me like they want a committee. I think Brian's in charge.
No, I don't know. I'm on a lot of committees.
So is Paul looking, do you think do we need to make a motion for you to create this committee, or do we need to?
I think we can just create it.
Okay. Is there any reason why we shouldn't be looking at
I
this?
don't see why we shouldn't.
Yeah.
It says who should be on there, so it's pretty basic. So
Yeah.
maybe if you just make a motion that, please put the committee together.
Yes, I agree with that.
So are you going to appoint?
So- The president to create a committee meeting, appoint two members of the EDA to the committee, and invite the city administrator. Okay, I guess we're going to create, here he's back.
Do we need to make a motion to create this ad hoc committee?
I believe that Josh could do it on his own authority, but if you'd like to make a motion, you could.
I'd prefer a motion.
I'll move that we make the committee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
When do
No.
you want this up and running, Paul? How
We
quickly?
need to appoint two members to it also.
Does anybody want to volunteer?
Brian said he would, I heard him. Didn't you, Stunk?
I'm not getting involved in it.
Actually, since Brian's on the city council as well, that would probably work well, because he's the liaison on the city council level.
They're picking on us here, Dale.
I'd be willing to be on that committee.
Yeah, I would like to serve with Justin as well, so it'd be fine.
There we got our two.
But if anyone else wants to join us,
I think you would be good on there, though, because it's kind of your line of business.
yeah, we'll do our best.
We have confidence in you.
Well, we'll certainly work well together, so,
Okay.
Well,
yeah.
the one thing I can guarantee is we won't meet until in September at the earliest, because I'm going to be gone for a couple of weeks, so.
Yeah, and I
Unless you
think-
want to meet and have a coup while I'm gone, right?
Well, one request I would make for this committee here is I do think that this ad hoc industrial park committee needs to be
Focused.
very focused, but pulled into the other effort regarding the 10th Street study for our street project, because these two efforts work together in my mind. So that would be my note for you, Paul, to carry on to Mr. Murphy, that we're included at least in the notes and minutes on the planning for 10th Street.
And that ties right into the funding that we talked,
Yes.
Just
we
talked
spoke
about,
about with Steve Emery and
And
Right.
TRF
for the,
funding or whatever it is, TF
For
whatever.
TED.
TED
It's called
funding,
it
which
TED,
is
it's
perfect into that
Transportation
whole
and Economic
thing.
Development and Industry, TEDdy. And there's also ARP funding, right now, American
Mm-hmm.
Rescue Plan. And there's EDA, U.S. Economic Development Administration funding. And it all ties together, and it's timely, because some of those things are just coming out right now. And that's
Right.
part of what, remember the U.S. EDA stuff that I handed out? It's part of what ties into there. So it's timely to do that. In addition, one of the parcels that we had looked at for industrial development, like I said in there, has been purchased, and the owner has talked with me. So it's timely to talk with him about his involvement as well and how we can move forward on that.
Okay.
All right. So informational daycare application filed for rural child care and innovation
I
program.
just want to let you know that was done. Okay?
Wow.
So that's been submitted. We'll see what happens. We had a lot of people who were elated to be part of that committee, the group on that, so that's really good. And the second item on here is we have a signed bare lot purchase agreement on the Bonish property, which used to be the Weber property.
Right.
Okay.
Do we got a closing date set?
Ron is working with Nan Larson, in fact, to set a closing date to have that full closing occur.
Awesome.
Okay.
That's good news.
So I thought you would like to hear that.
It's great news.
That is.
It's a long time in coming.
Well,
I mean, dealing with that lot for years and years and years to straighten out the issues, and there are so many other things that were always more pressing or had to be done, or finding, as you go through, you find there's something else that had to be taken care of on there.
oh,
It's just-
shocking.
Yeah.
Right,
It
Brian?
just took forever. Because when you're trying to erase a couple of problems, you find something more sometimes.
Right.
So, but that's.
Painful.
Very.
Sorry? Yeah. So I thought you'd like to see that.
Yes.
And draw that out as particular to let you know about that. And I didn't want to leave it till the monthly report that you'd get in September, because these have both happened in the last couple of weeks.
I figured it was, something happened because there's been activity over there.
Are they starting to build?
Well,
No,
State.
because they
they're
don't have a permit.
striking everything out and figuring things out. I could see that.
I see.
And
Prelim, s'mores
Sure.
party.
And as Josh can attest, there's an elevation that you can't disturb the ground below a certain elevation.
Can't
So,
add or subtract.
yeah, you can't add or subtract or do anything to it. So they have to stake those out, and whenever somebody comes in, we work with the building people to make sure that, who were involved in all of that, to make sure that they have the right elevations, so that they don't go where they're not supposed to go.
And Phil.
And there's also, for that lot, there's up to 5,000 cubic yards of clay that the city will make available. They have to carry the clay up there, and they have to do any cleaning up on the streets if it falls on the streets and things like that. But because of the way those lots are, there was 5,000 cubic yards of clay made available.
And that ground's as hard as concrete.
Yeah. For now, till it rains.
Not even then. All right, motion to adjourn.
Oh, I have a question. On those deed programs, they talk about local community child care grant, we didn't really talk about this page, I don't think, did we? So is there anything we can do with that
Not
community
at this
child care
point.
grant?
No.
Okay.
It's not, they're rolling the programs out, Carla.
Okay,
So
okay.
it's not out yet to do
Okay.
something with, but it's one of those things that I'm monitoring.
Okay.
Before, at 11 o'clock today was a session on
Okay.
small business partnership grants, and I have to talk to Christine about it, because it's really oriented toward what
Okay.
the SPDC does,
Okay.
as opposed to us. Some of these programs are nice, but we'd have to hire staff to do it, and then we'd be hiring staff for a year or
Right.
2 years.
Sit idle.
And, well, I wish. Thank you, though. The problem is that for this program, for example, there's a maximum 10% of the funds available that can be used for administrative costs, so it won't pay the costs of hiring a person to do it.
Right.
So unless we want to expand our services and find ways to fund those when we're trying to keep the taxes low for all the taxpayers in town, it's going to be very difficult to do some of these things.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just want to recognize that there was
Yeah.
a child care grant on there that we did talk about it. So if somebody looked online, they can see, okay, they're doing this, but they're not doing that.
Right.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
Just a quick question, Paul. Where are we at with the Shopko building? Is that still a go? I haven't seen any action over there for a while. Are
They're
we?
doing the renovation. He closed on one of his loans with through the Small Business Administration last week. He's going to be closing on the loan that you approved after the 1st, because he said he'd like to hold off until then, but they are moving ahead on it. They're moving forward. The thing is, a lot of the stuff at this point will be occurring inside, too. But that they are moving forward on the project.
Okay, I just wondered if it was still a go or not, so.
Definitely a go. He's getting all his loans in place to be able to do the final closing on the land. And I think he may have closed on the land, as far as I know. He didn't tell us. Not yet, anyway.
Anything else?
Third time's a charm, is that it?
I'm thinking so.
Move adjournment.
Second. Aye.
Oh, that was funny. That was